And happy Friday. Clear that it is Friday from looking at the room. In a short while, I will be joined by our guest, who is the UNFPA, UN Population Fund Palestine representative, Nestor Oumuhangi. He will be joining us live from Gaza in a short time. I have a statement regarding the official signing that took place yesterday in Washington. I can tell you the Secretary-General welcomes the official signing yesterday in Washington of the Washington Accords for Peace and Prosperity between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda under the facilitation of the United States of America. He commends President Trump for his efforts and congratulates President Felix Tshisekedi and Paul Kagame on this important milestone. The Secretary-General underscores that these agreements represent a critical step towards restoring trust between the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Rwanda, in advancing efforts for lasting peace in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Secretary-General also welcomes the significant progress made under both the Doha and African Union-led progress. He urges all parties to honor the commitment they have undertaken, including the respect of a permanent ceasefire as called for by Security Council Resolution 2773. The Secretary-General reiterates that the United Nations, including the UN peacekeeping mission in the DRC, MONUSCO, stand ready to continue supporting all efforts towards sustainable peace and stability in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the wider region. On the humanitarian side, on the ground, our colleagues at the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tells us that hostilities are continuing across South Kivu province, resulting in more civilian deaths, injuries, and displacement. Since December 2nd, intense fighting, including the use of heavy weaponry and shelling, has been reported in several villages across the territories of Uvira, Walungu, Kabare, Fizi, and Kalehe. These attacks have damaged critical infrastructures and homes. Meanwhile, local health authorities in Walungu territory said that at least 13 civilians have been admitted to hospital. Intense fighting and roadblocks have rendered, unfortunately, evacuations impossible, and that is preventing an unknown number of injured civilians reaching the medical facilities they need for treatment. The violence has forced people to flee their homes, though the exact number cannot yet be determined. As of the end of October, there were 1.2 million people displaced in South Kivu. Between January and September of this year, we and our partners have provided food, shelter, and protection and health services to 1.5 million people in South Kivu. We yet again reiterate our urgent call for all parties to the conflict to uphold their obligations under international humanitarian law and protect all civilians and civilian infrastructure. Humanitarian access must be granted to allow for life-saving assistance to reach those in need. A couple of grim updates from Sudan. Our colleagues at the UN Children's Fund today note that drone strikes in Khadir locality in Kalugi in South Kordofan have reportedly killed more than 10 children aged between 5 and 7 years old. That was inside a kindergarten. UNICEF stressed that the killings and maiming of children and attacks on schools and hospitals are grave violations of children's rights. These strikes come amid a sharp deterioration in security across the Kordofan states since early November, driving up widespread displacement and deepening humanitarian needs. UNICEF says that medical services are collapsing, essential supplies are nearly exhausted, and education is disrupted, leaving children without learning opportunities and severe psychosocial distress. The UN Children's Fund continues to work with its partners to deliver life-saving support in Sudan, but the scale far exceeds the needs and the resources. UNICEF calls on the international community to step up efforts to protect children and to provide urgent assistance. And today we joined our colleagues of the World Food Programme in strongly condemning an attack on a WFP truck near the town of Hamra el-Sheikh in North Darfur. That took place last night. That truck was part of a larger convoy of 39 trucks en route with vital food assistance to support hungry families who fled to Tawila in North Darfur in search of food and safety. To give you a scale, WFP supports about 700,000 people in Tawila with food support. The convoy was more than halfway through a 1,000-kilometer journey when the incident happened. This latest incident is the 6th serious attack on a World Food Program trucks, assets, and facilities in Sudan in the past year. 8 humanitarians and partners were killed, many more injured. This is, of course, unacceptable. There must be unimpeded access to reach the most vulnerable families in Darfur and all famine-stricken areas. Humanitarian staff and assets must never be a target, and the fact that we have to repeat that is a tragedy unto itself. Turning to Gaza, the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs warns that insecurity continues to undermine aid operations and endanger lives. OCHA reiterates that under international humanitarian law, civilians and civilian infrastructure must always be protected. It should never be a target. Between the 26th and the 2nd of December, our partners monitoring population flows in Gaza recorded more than 20,500 movements, compared with over 17,000 movements the preceding week. Over the past month, displacement has been driven mainly by heavy rainfall and flooding. Our partners who are managing displacement sites say they can oversee less than a third of the known locations where displaced people are sheltering, and that's due to constraints and lack of supplies. As a result, more than 1 million people at these sites are going without key support, including drainage of wastewater, as well as the construction and repair of community structures. Meanwhile, a new wave of displacement were reported over the past week due to shifts in the yellow cement blocks marking the so-called yellow line. We are also continuing to coordinate humanitarian missions within Gaza. OCHA tells us that on Wednesday, 6 out of 7 attempts were facilitated by Israeli authorities. Through these missions, humanitarian teams collected fuel, medical supplies, diapers, dignity and hygiene kits, soap, water, winter clothing, and other essential items from the Karim Shalom and Zikim crossings. Overall, between the 26th of November and Tuesday, humanitarian organization coordinated 54 missions with the Israeli authorities, of which 38 were facilitated, 7 were canceled, and 5 were impeded, and 4 were outright denied. Turning to the West Bank, our humanitarian colleagues warn that Israeli forces operations in northern area are intensifying, triggering a new displacement movement restrictions, school closures, and service disruptions in communities already affected by the recurrent operations since 2025. Over 95,000 Palestinians were affected by expanded operations by Israeli forces in the northern area in recent days, particularly in Jenin and Tubas Governorate. This was due to Israeli forces' operations, curfews, and other movement restrictions, displacement, damage, or destruction of private property and public infrastructure, as well as school closures with access to basic services disrupted. Meanwhile, settler attacks are continuing unabated. So far this year, OCHA has documented 1,680 attacks by Israeli settlers that caused casualties or property damage in more than 270 communities across the West Bank. That's an average of 5 incidents per day. Israel, as the occupying power, has a legal obligation to protect civilians and maintain public order and safety in the West Bank in accordance with international humanitarian and human rights law. Any use of force by Israelis must follow international recognized law enforcement standards. On Thursday afternoon, just moving up to Lebanon, peacekeepers from the peacekeeping mission in southern Lebanon, known as UNIFIL, observed a series of Israeli airstrikes in its area of operations in South Lebanon. This comes as the Lebanese armed forces continue operations to control unauthorized weapons and infrastructure in South Lebanon. These actions are a clear violation of 1701. We urge the Israeli Defense Forces to use liaison and coordination mechanisms available to them to settle these issues. Also last night, peacekeepers on patrol were approached by 6 men on 3 mopeds near the Bint Jbeil area, with one man firing approximately 3 shots in the back of a UN vehicle. Thankfully, no one was hurt. As you know, attacks on peacekeepers are unacceptable and a serious violation of 1701. We remind the Lebanese authorities of their obligations to ensure the safety and security of peacekeepers, and we demand a full and immediate investigation to bring the perpetrators to justice. Both parties must adhere to their commitments and obligations under 1701 and the understanding reached in November if they are to safeguard the progress achieved so far. Over the past several days, UNIFIL peacekeepers discovered 8 unauthorized weapon caches consisting of rockets, mortars, anti-personnel mines, grenades, ammunition, and small arms, all of that in several locations. Additionally, peacekeepers discovered 2 improvised explosive devices and plastic explosives made 4 separate discoveries of unexploded ordnances. In all these cases, UNIFIL worked with the Lebanese armed forces to ensure the safe destruction or removal of these hazards, which obviously pose a grave threat to civilians. Turning to Ukraine, our colleagues in the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs say that attacks and hostilities continue to kill and injure more civilians across the country. In the city of Kherson, strikes damage energy infrastructure, leaving more than 40,000 people without heating, while night temperatures are getting close to zero. A local bakery in the city, supported by WFP, was also hit by heavy shelling, injuring 3 bakery workers. 2 delivery trucks were destroyed, and the bread facility was damaged. In Odessa, 60,000 people were left without electricity following strikes. Despite these challenges, we and our partners are supporting the response. This year, more than 1 million people in Ukraine received winter-related humanitarian assistance, including heating, winter heating, and warm clothes. We also continue to send humanitarian convoys to deliver aid to frontline areas in Kherson, one of the most impacted frontline areas amidst the recent escalation of hostilities in the town of Liman. And in Donetsk, national NGOs with the support of UN agencies delivered emergency shelter materials and provided protection services to the residents of cities of Kramatorsk and Sloviansk impacted by the latest wave of attack. Just an update from the typhoons in South Asia and the floods and storms related to it. These have had a devastating impact on children's education. UNICEF's latest data showed that since late November, more than 4.1 million children in Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia have had their education disrupted due to climate-related disasters. For many children in the region, the disruptions were the second, third, or even fourth time they've watched floodwaters consume their classrooms. UNICEF continues to support local governments' response to make sure children can access support, including safe water, health, and nutrition. They're also calling for investments in climate adaptation and disaster risk reduction. This is the beginning of the month, so it's time for the UN Food and Agriculture Organization Food Price Index. FAO says today that the world food commodity prices declined in November, led by lower international quotations for all major staples except cereals. FAO Food Price Index averaged 125.1 points in November, down 1.2% from the revised October level. The index now has declined for 3 consecutive months, standing at 2.1% below November 2024 and 21.9% lower than its peak in March of 2022. FAO's cereal price index increased slightly by 1.3% this month. A couple of interesting international days to flag for you. Today is International Volunteer Day for Economic and Social Development. In his message for the day, the Secretary-General says, in an era of political division and social isolation, volunteering offers a powerful way to forge connections and foster a shared humanity. He points out that this year's theme, Every Contribution Matters, reminds us that everyone has something meaningful to offer and that every cause, from hunger to climate to humanitarian action, benefits from the expertise and volunteers and enthusiasm of volunteers. Today is also the week that marks the launch of the International Volunteer Year 2026. Over the next 12 months, he urges everyone everywhere to volunteer for a cause that matters to them. And if that cause is soil, it is good for you because today's World Soil Day. This day focuses on urban landscapes with the theme Healthy Soils for Healthy Cities. The FAO points out that more than 95% of our food comes from soils, but in the face of climate change and human activity, our soils are being degraded. And on Sunday, if you are taking a plane. It's a good thing as well because Sunday is International Civil Aviation Day, which aims to help generate and reinforce worldwide awareness on the importance of international civil aviation to the social and economic development of states. I've finished. Yes, Deji.
First, a follow-up on the attack of WFPs in Sudan. Is there any initial suggestion of who attacked the convoy?
No.
What about all those cases that happened in the past year?
Listen, in some cases, people claim them. We're obviously WFP is not a criminal forensics agency. They're not able to. They don't have the mandate or the know-how to kind of trace it back. And frankly, it stands to. One sometimes has to restate the obvious. Humanitarian convoys should not be attacked. The truck that was attacked was in fact parked. It had been for some repairs, and it was attacked. And thank God the driver was not killed and not seriously injured.
The envoy had 39 trucks.
Convoy, yeah.
Yeah, the convoy had 39 trucks. How many trucks has been attacked? Just one?
Yeah, just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
So what about the rest of other trucks?
I'm sure they will
continue?
They will soon make their way.
They continued.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
I don't know if they have, but I'm sure they will soon. Okay. Any other questions before we go to our guests? Yes, madam.
Going back to Sudan, as the escalation is going up now, is there any recommendation to the Security Council to exercise any force or decision by force?
Well, I mean, the Security Council has debated Sudan numerous times. Resolutions have been passed. What's important is that the parties recognize and abide by these resolutions. And what's important is that the Security Council and others send a clear message to the parties to stop the fighting and respect international law. Yes, Shuchan, please.
Do you have a date for the Secretary-General's end-of-year press conference?
Yes, because it will be in the beginning of the year. I think we're aiming for probably the third week of January, but we're just trying to. He's agreed to do it. I'm sure he wants to do it, and we will. But we'll give you the exact schedule. But it'll be in the new year. Okay. Excellent. I hear no questions online. If we could put our guests up on the screen, please.